I still remember the day I stood at the airport with my big red suitcase. I was 24 years old and I was scared, but also excited. It was my first time leaving my country and I didn't know what to expect. I had won a small business scholarship in London, but there was one big problem. I didn't speak English well. I could say my name, ask for the toilet, and maybe say, "How are you?" But I couldn't understand fast speech, and I didn't know how to talk about business, money, or ideas. I looked around the airport, and all the signs were in English. People spoke so quickly. I felt lost, like a child in a new world. Still, I took a deep breath and walked to the check-in counter. I smiled, but the woman asked me something I didn't understand. I panicked. I gave her my passport and just pointed at my ticket. She was kind and helped me, but in that moment, I felt small. I sat at the gate and made a promise to myself. I said, if I want to be strong, if I want to grow, I must learn English. Not tomorrow, not later. I must start now. That promise changed everything. When I arrived in London, I couldn't understand most things. People spoke fast, and many had different accents. Sometimes I thought they were speaking another language, not English. I smiled and nodded a lot because I didn't want to look stupid. I remember my first bus ride. The driver asked me something, and I didn't know what he said. I said, yes, and gave him a £5 note. He gave me a strange look and some change, but I had no idea if it was right. I was tired, confused, and lonely. But I kept thinking, this is the beginning. Every strong person starts somewhere. I went to the language school that was part of my scholarship. The teacher was kind, but she didn't speak my language. I had to listen carefully. I wrote down every new word and repeated it again and again. Even if I was tired, I didn't stop. I wanted to feel strong in English. I wanted to be able to speak without fear. After school, I started going to coffee shops and parks just to hear people talk. I didn't understand everything, but I listened and tried to guess the meaning. Sometimes I ordered food just to practice speaking. I would say, "Can I have a sandwich, please?" and feel proud, even if it was simple. One day, I met an old woman in the park. She had a small dog and liked to talk. At first, I didn't understand most of her words, but I listened carefully. Every day, we met in the park, and she told me stories about her life. She was patient, and she helped me learn new words. She also gave me confidence. She said, "You're learning so fast. You're not afraid to speak. That's important." Her words gave me hope. I started to believe in myself. 3 months after I arrived, I got a part-time job in a small office. I helped with emails and answered the phone. On the first day, my hands were shaking. I didn't want to make mistakes. My boss was a serious man. He didn't smile much. He spoke fast and expected me to understand everything. I often had to ask him to repeat, and I saw that it made him tired. One day, he called me into his office. I thought he was going to fire me. I felt cold inside. He looked at me and said, "You are smart, but your English is not enough for this job. Can you improve fast? Yes, I can. I will. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened my grammar book and watched videos with subtitles. I repeated phrases again and again. I told myself, you cannot go home. You must grow stronger. In just 2 weeks, my English started to improve. I made flashcards with business words. I practiced emails. I recorded myself speaking and listened to my mistakes. At work, I started to speak more clearly. My boss noticed. He said, "Much better." That was the first compliment he gave me. It meant a lot. I felt powerful. I understood meetings, answered calls, and wrote messages without fear. I was still learning, but I was not afraid anymore. English became my tool. It helped me work, connect, and feel free in a new country. I saw that every new word opened a small door. Soon, I was opening big doors too. After 6 months, I didn't just want to work for someone, I wanted to start my own business. It was a small idea at first. I wanted to help women from other countries who came to London, just like me. I made a website in English. I wrote every word myself. I checked the grammar 5 times. It was not perfect, but it was mine. I started holding small classes on weekends, teaching basic job skills and English phrases. The women came, and they were just like I was when I arrived, nervous and unsure. They asked me, "How did you learn so fast?" And I told them, I used every chance. I listened, I spoke, I read, and I never gave up. My small business started to grow. English was not just a language anymore. It was the key to helping others. One day, a company contacted me. They said, "We saw your website. We want to work with you." I was shocked. I thought maybe it was a mistake. But no, it was real. They wanted to support women in the workplace and asked me to give a talk at their event. I had never spoken to a big audience in English. My hands were shaking again, just like at the airport. But I said yes. I prepared for days. I practiced in front of a mirror and even recorded my voice. When the day came, I stood in front of 100 people. I told them my story. I told them how English changed my life. When I finished, they clapped for a long time. Some people had tears in their eyes. After that, everything changed. More companies started calling. They wanted workshops, training, and programs. I needed a team, so I hired 2 women who were once my students. We worked together to grow the business. We wrote emails, made phone calls, and held meetings, all in English. Every day, I felt grateful. I was once the woman who could only say, "How are you?" Now, I was the woman leading a company, helping others, and making real change. I thought, if I had not learned English, none of this would happen. Language opened the first door, but courage and hard work opened the rest. 2 years later, I went back to my home country. My parents met me at the airport. I was wearing a smart suit, carrying a laptop, and smiling with confidence. At dinner, I told them everything that had happened. They were proud, but also surprised. My father said, I never knew English could change a person so much. I told him it didn't just change my words, it changed my mind. It gave me the world. I visited my old school and gave a talk to students. I told them about my journey. Some of them asked, was it hard? I said, yes. It was hard, but it was worth it. Now I run a successful company. I travel, speak at events, and help people grow. But I never forget the young woman at the airport with the red suitcase and the small vocabulary. She was scared, but she was brave. And she made a promise. English opened the door for me, but I had to walk through it with courage. I still make mistakes sometimes, but I don't let that stop me. I tell everyone I meet, if I can do it, you can too. Because English is not just a language. It is a key, and it can open the door to a new life. In the beginning, I made many mistakes when speaking English. I used the wrong words, mixed up tenses, and sometimes people laughed. That was hard. But I learned something important. Mistakes are not the end. They are the beginning. One day, I called a client and said something completely wrong. I wanted to say, I'll send the invoice today, but I said, I will invite you today. He laughed and asked, to what? I felt embarrassed, but I also laughed. Later, I wrote down both words, invoice and invite, and learned the difference. That's how I improved. Every mistake was a lesson. Now I tell my students, don't be afraid to sound silly. You will never grow if you don't try. Mistakes built my English, one word at a time. Years after my first flight, I had to travel to New York for a business meeting. I went to the airport again, but this time, everything felt different. I looked around and realized I could understand every sign. I could read everything without thinking. When the airport staff asked questions, I answered clearly. I even helped another traveler who was confused and didn't speak English. I translated for her, and she smiled with relief. That small moment made me feel proud. I thought back to the girl who once stood there, scared and unsure. And now, here I was, confident, calm, and ready for anything. In New York, I had meetings with important business leaders. At first, I was nervous. I had never spoken to such powerful people before. But I prepared well. I learned business vocabulary and practiced my answers. When the meeting started, I spoke slowly but clearly. I shared my ideas and told my story. They listened carefully. One of the women said, "Your journey is inspiring. We want to support your work." That meeting led to a big partnership. I received funding to grow my business internationally. My dream was growing bigger than I ever imagined. And it was all possible because I had learned how to speak English with confidence. After that trip, I started a special program for women from different countries. Many of them had dreams but didn't speak English. They felt small, just like I did when I arrived in London. We taught English, but we also taught job skills, public speaking, and writing. The women started small, learning greetings and simple sentences. But in a few months, they were giving short speeches in English. Some started their own businesses. Some found good jobs. Others just felt strong and free for the first time. I saw myself in them. I knew how it felt to be quiet in a room full of voices. And I also knew how it felt to finally speak. Reading helped me a lot when I was learning. At first, I read children's books in English. The words were simple, but the stories were strong. Later, I read magazines, blogs, and books about business. Each word I didn't know, I wrote in a notebook. I carried that notebook everywhere. On the bus, in the park, at lunch, I read it again and again. Soon, I could read emails quickly and understand everything. I could read contracts, write proposals, and create clear presentations. Reading was quiet work, but it gave me strong results. It helped me think better in English. Speaking was the hardest part at first. I was always afraid I would say the wrong thing. But one day, I stopped waiting for perfect words. I just started talking. I spoke to shop workers, taxi drivers, teachers, and anyone who would listen. I didn't wait to feel ready. I just did it. Yes, I made mistakes. But people were kind. They saw I was trying. And over time, my speech became more natural. Now, I give talks in front of hundreds of people. I don't feel afraid anymore. My English is not perfect, but it is strong enough to open every door I need. One morning, I got a call from a news channel. They wanted to interview me about my journey and my work. I was surprised and very nervous. It would be live, on television, in English. I practiced answers, chose my outfit, and reminded myself, you've worked hard for this moment. The interview went well. I spoke clearly, told my story, and shared my message. After the show, many people messaged me saying, "You gave me hope." That was the moment I truly saw the power of language. My words, in English, reached people I had never met, and they felt something real. Back home, my family watched the interview. My parents were so proud. My younger sister, who never cared much about English before, said, "I want to learn too." I sent her my old grammar books, vocabulary lists, and even my notebook full of new words. We started having short conversations in English over the phone. Slowly, her English improved. She started watching English shows, reading simple books, and speaking more confidently. My journey didn't just change my life, it inspired others in my family. That made me feel more successful than any job or title. English didn't just give me career success, it gave me freedom. I can travel anywhere, speak to anyone, and understand the world around me. When I enter a room, I don't feel small anymore. I feel equal. I can express my ideas, ask questions, and understand answers. That is a kind of freedom many people never feel. Not because they are not smart, but because they are silent in a world full of noise. English gave me a voice in that world. And with that voice, I built a new life. Now, when women ask me, is it really possible to succeed in another country? I say yes. But learn the language, learn English. It's not just about grammar or exams. It's about power, choice, and freedom. I tell them, you don't need to be perfect. You need to be brave. You need to practice every day, even if just a little. Learning English is not easy. It takes time, but it opens doors you didn't even know were there. It gives you chances, jobs, friends, and confidence. And most of all, it gives you the power to change your story. A few years ago, I visited Japan for a business conference. I didn't speak Japanese, but I had no problem because English helped me. The hotel staff spoke English. The signs had English. The conference speakers used English. I met people from many countries: Brazil, Germany, India, and South Africa. We all had different native languages, but we spoke together in English. It felt like a magic bridge between cultures. That's when I saw how big the world really is and how English connects it. I was not just a visitor anymore. I was part of a global conversation. Some opportunities came to me by surprise. A company from Australia contacted me after seeing my interview online. They wanted to work together on a new project. Before, I would have said, I don't think I can handle that. But now, I knew I could. I had the skills, the experience, and the English to communicate clearly. We had Zoom calls every week. We planned, discussed, and made decisions, all in English. I was not afraid to ask questions or share ideas. That partnership became one of the most successful parts of my business. And it started with one simple thing: understanding and using English. Today, my days are full. I answer emails from clients in English. I talk to my international team on video calls. I read business articles every morning with coffee. Sometimes I give short speeches online or help young women practice interviews. I also help write company documents and training guides. My English is not perfect, but it works. It opens doors every day. It helps me make decisions, lead people, and keep growing. Even my free time is better now. I watch movies in English without subtitles. I read books that teach me new things. I enjoy my life fully. I sometimes remember the girl I used to be, the one who sat in a dark room with no job, no hope, and no English. She was lost, afraid, and tired. Now I look in the mirror and see a different woman. Strong, brave, full of purpose. Not because everything became easy, but because I didn't give up. English didn't fix my life, but it gave me tools. It gave me chances, and I used them step by step. That's the real story. Not magic, not luck, just work, belief, and language. One of my proudest moments was when my first book was published. It was a guide for women who want to grow in their careers and learn English. I wrote it in simple English, just like I speak. I wanted women everywhere to understand it, even if their English was basic. When I held the book in my hands, I cried. It was not just paper and ink. It was my story, my voice, my journey, shared with the world. Now, the book is used in classrooms and reading groups. And that makes me feel more successful than any business deal. One day, my little daughter looked at me and said, "Mama, can we speak in English?" I smiled. My heart was full. She goes to an international school and speaks both English and our native language. She watches English cartoons and reads simple books. I help her with new words, just like I once helped myself. And she learns so fast. When I hear her speak, I know she will never feel small in this world. She will not be afraid like I was, because she has the language from the start. Now I teach small classes in the evenings. I don't do it for money. I do it because I remember what it felt like to be alone and confused. My students come tired after work. They bring notebooks and hope. They ask me, will I ever speak well? And I tell them, yes. If I did it, you can too. But it will take time. And it will be worth it. We laugh, we learn, we make mistakes. But every week, I see progress. And that fills me with joy. I used to dream of being successful. I thought it meant cars, money, and fame. But today, I know success means freedom. It means peace. It means choices. I became a woman who can go anywhere, talk to anyone, and lead with respect. I became a woman who can help others grow. English was not the final goal. It was the key. And with that key, I opened every door that once seemed locked. Now, I don't dream small. I dream big and help others do the same. If you are reading this and you are struggling with English, I want you to know something. You are not alone, and you are not too late. Don't wait for confidence. Start with courage. Speak badly. Learn slowly, try often, and never stop. Every tool you can, books, apps, movies, people. English will grow if you water it every day. And one day, you will look back and say, I made it. I opened the doors. I changed my life. There was one last door I wanted to open. I dreamed of speaking on a world stage to a big audience about women, language, and change. Last year, that dream came true. I was invited to speak at a global conference. I stood on the stage, looked at the crowd, and began, "My name is Mira." Years ago, I didn't speak a word of English. Today, I speak with the world. The room was silent. People listened. Some cried. And I knew this was not the final door. This was just another beginning. Because when you speak English, the world doesn't just open its doors. It opens its arms.